Okay, great.
There he is.
Hello.
Go ahead. What was that? Go ahead, we're up. Okay, we are.
Okay, we have a quorum, therefore I'd like to call this meeting to order. Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, September 8th, and this is the regular meeting of the El Paso County Historical Commission. The time is 4:03 p.m.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to
Allegiance.
the flag
Flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas
Texas flag,
flag
pledge
allegiance
to
to
the
the
Texas
Texas
state
state under
under
God,
God,
and
one
indivisible.
and indivisible.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take a formal roll call. If you hear a name, please say present. Commissioner Bear. Commissioner Bear.
present.
Thank you. Commissioner Borrego.
Here.
Commissioner Calamia.
Here.
Commissioner Chaparro.
Present.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Present.
Commissioner Howie.
How? It's pronounced how. I'm here.
Oh, House. My apologies. Present. Commissioner Gidney.
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Here.
Commissioner Sutherland.
Present.
Commissioner Welch.
Present.
Commissioner Young.
Here.
This is Commissioner Kanoff. You skipped over me.
Oh, my apologies.
Oh.
Commissioner Kanoff.
Yes.
Also,
Okay.
Shelby
And
McHugh is
was
here.
also-
Am I still on the roll?
Yes. I think I went. My apologies for going out of alphabetical. I'm coming back to the ones that I haven't marked here. Commissioner McHugh, you said you were
I'm
present.
here.
Commissioner Quesada. Okay, Commissioner Roman.
Present.
Okay. I believe that is everybody. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? We do not have anybody signed up.
Okay, being as there's no public comment, please proceed to call the consent agenda.
Are there any items that we need to pull?
This is Commissioner Calamia. There were some things on some reports that were a couple of inaccuracies I'd like to note, please. The Administration Committee report mentioned that the Wayside Exhibit project was almost done. That's not accurate. The graphics component is done, but the other two phases are not done, and they won't be done very likely until the end of the calendar year.
This is Ryan Kerr, Assistant County Attorney. If we want to have discussion on any of the individual reports or any corrections, we could pull those, accept the rest, and then circle back and talk about them.
Okay, I thought this was the time to mention it.
Yeah, so we'll pull item B. It seems you said the administration committee, was it?
Yes.
Okay, any other items to be pulled?
Well, there were some other things. Let's see, the Bowie baseball team at the time, we thought Ray Sanchez would be willing to do that. The Bowie Bears baseball team state championship for the Markers Committee. He will not be able to do that.
Okay, let me just point out that those are the minutes of the admin meeting, and that is what was said at the admin meeting because I take those notes. So if there are changes, I don't think we should be changing the minutes because the minutes are the actual transcription of what happened in the admin meeting. Am I correct there?
The Wayside exhibit one that I mentioned a moment ago was done by Miss Young. And she's the one who put that note into the admin committee meeting, and it was erroneous, as I said.
Okay.
I don't know if I put that into the admin committee meeting, but if we need to correct it, we can correct it.
It was in the, I just read it a little while ago.
Okay. And then as far as Ray Sanchez, that was said in the admin committee meeting also. So
that was in the Markers Committee, Barbara. But again, that's what was reported. So that shouldn't be.
So if it's reported, aren't our attachments actually just a collation of what was said? I mean, I think we can actually correct.
No, I left in the message.
Okay.
So it sounds to me, this is Ryan Kerr, Assistant County Attorney. It sounds to me like there are multiple items within the consent agenda that needs to be discussed, and we're kind of discussing multiple items at the same time. So if we wanted to pull some of those items, we could approve the rest, and then if we could call the individual item that needs to be discussed for any corrections, or if there's not going to be corrections, they're going to accept it. We can do that. Just so the record's clear, what action was taken on what.
Okay, so we're going to be pulling.
Right, and that's what I'm attempting to do here.
Okay, did you say markers as well?
No.
Okay, just admin committee for now. We're pulling.
Right.
Anything else that we can pull before we vote?
Well, there were a couple of things that were not included in a couple other reports. The archaeology report for the Casa Ronquillo, it should include my name along. Prince McKenzie's name is there, but my name should be there. Same with the Mission Trail Development.
Commissioner Calmian, so the way that we have to go through consent agenda is that we look at the consent agenda as one whole item. If you have individual items for each one of those things that need to be pulled, then you let Marcos know we need to pull items X, Y, and Z. We pull those, and then Marcos calls those items, and we discuss them individually, so that it's not just everyone talking over one another. Because what ends up happening is that you start talking about something, and then somebody else comes in behind you at the same time, and we can't hear those. So if we could let Marcos and Barbara run the meeting, let us know what items need to be pulled, and we will pull those, and then they will call those things individually. Does that make sense?
Yes, but that's what I thought Barbara was allowing me to do, to identify a couple items that were not to be pulled, but items that needed to be added.
Okay.
I was trying to finish.
Correct. No. So the way that this works is you say these items need to be pulled, and then we take a vote on anything that doesn't need to be pulled. We close down the consent agenda item, and then you get into the individual details about what is wrong with each item. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so Mark, you'd be saying I will be pulling from the consent agenda, and then give us the numerical or the alphabetical letter that corresponds to what you want to be pulled. So B would be the administration committee, and if you want archaeology committee, that would be C. I'm not sure any others that you'd like pulled.
Mission Trail Development Committee, there was a
Okay, so let's not say what it is. Let's say we want E pulled.
I don't have the letters in front of me. I don't.
Okay. Well,
I can see
Mr.
the
Trail
letters.
is E. Is markers pulled or no?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, okay, then if so, we'd be pulling A, B, pulling B, C, D, and E. Is that correct?
I didn't hear the markers is being pulled as well. I didn't catch that one. Is that correct, Commissioner Calamia, that you also wanted to pull historical markers or no?
Yes, one markers, that's right.
Okay, all right, so yes, it will be items B, C, D, and E are pulled. So we can move, if no one else wants to pull anything else, we can move towards a vote for
Okay, so
A and F.
okay, so if there are, if nothing else needs to be pulled, can we take a vote to approve number 5 consent agenda, letters A and F? Do we have a motion? Anyone? Do we have a motion to approve A and F?
I'll move, Commissioner Chaparro. I'm moving to approve those consent items.
Okay, is there a second?
Second. Bear.
Who was that? Was that Commissioner Bear?
Yes.
Okay, a second. All right, I will go through so that we can go ahead and do a formal vote, beginning with Commissioner Bear.
Approved.
Commissioner Bear, how do you vote?
Approved.
Commissioner Borrego?
Aye.
Commissioner Calamia?
Aye.
Commissioner Chaparro?
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Aye.
Commissioner Howe? Commissioner Howe? Okay, Commissioner Kanoff? Commissioner Kayoff? Okay.
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Kidney?
Aye.
Commissioner McHugh?
Aye.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Aye.
Commissioner Quesada? I don't believe is present. Commissioner Roman?
Aye.
Commissioner Sutherland?
Aye.
Commissioner Welch?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Okay. All right, motion carries. We can go ahead and discuss item B, accept the report and activities of the administration committee. Could you repeat very briefly, Commissioner, what items you believed needed to be corrected?
For the administration committee, the Wayside Exhibit project is not almost done as stated in that current version of the committee report. The graphics portion is done, but the remainder of the project, the other two phases, have yet to be completed.
Okay. Is there any other discussion regarding that? Okay.
Well, this is Shelby. Let me say this, speaking to that. That part of the work that was to be done by the Historical County Commission, the various subcommittees, has been done. The remaining two facets of the project are outside the commission, that is the actual fabrication and installation. And so, how when something's been, where we are, I don't know. I think we do intend to finish the entire project before year end. It's September. I am hopeful that we won't be just looking at the minutes with a Scrivener's level of materiality. I would just say that.
Okay.
And this
Any
is Commissioner Chaparro. I'd like to add on there that the word almost could be very subjective. So it doesn't say that it's going to be tomorrow or next month or anything. So I think this is, a summary of what was discussed in the administration committee meeting. So I don't know if really changing it, because the word almost could mean pretty much anything. And in terms of the project as a whole, of when it started versus when it's completed, especially if we're all thinking and hoping it'll be done by the end of the calendar year, I mean, that sounds like almost to me. So I feel like it's just a very subjective definition, which is probably fine the way it is.
I agree.
Okay. Now, I may need a little refresher here. Do we need a vote on any corrections? Is that?
Yes,
We do.
everything that has, well, okay, no, so there was no change made. So unless there's a motion to change it in a second, we don't need to vote. If there's not, it stays the same and you move on to the next.
Okay.
Well, you will vote to accept as posted if there's no changes.
Brian, can we accept all 4 of the ones that have been pulled, or do we have to go back to each one individually?
So we need to go to each one individually so that Commissioner Calamea can describe his issues with each one.
Okay, so as far as the vote, do I need to call a vote on B, the admin committee report right now? I know there's some discussion as to yes or no, whether it stands as written or whether it should be edited.
Correct.
Well,
So
I
I
don't think there was. I didn't hear a motion to accept as amended or to make any amendments. So there.
I haven't called it yet because I was deferring to you.
Okay. But I mean, if you want to accept as posted, you can just move to accept as posted. If you just want to do a voice vote, like you're able to do that. You don't have to do the roll call for these if you do not want to. But that's how you would proceed.
Okay.
Motion to accept.
I'd like to make a motion to accept them as posted.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
I would second it. This is Shelby McHugh.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, motion carries. We can move on to item C, accept the report and activities of the Archaeology Committee.
So in the report, there was a question of, we noted in the field trip that there were telegraph poles and wires and insulators present that were very likely the same ones that were there during the Mexican Revolution. They were not mentioned in this archaeology committee report from our field trip that we made out there on in August. I believe it was August 25th. So I think those should be included in this report.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Does anyone not agree with that before I call it? Okay, so then
Yeah, this is Mark.
Okay.
This is Mark. I did not include that because it was just a synopsis of what we were looking at. If you want to add that, that's fine. But right now, it just didn't pertain to the report of what we were doing.
Well, it did pertain, and there were a lot of other things that were mentioned there as well. So these were not trivial matters since they're very rare, and we were surprised to even see them there. We commented on it, in fact, when we were in the field.
Okay, can I call the question with the amendment that Commissioner Calamea has added in about the telegraph poles? And Commissioner Calamea, if you could reduce that to one sentence, at most two, so Marco can Marcos can adjust accordingly, and then we can put it to a vote. So Commissioner Calamia, could you please succinctly provide us with your edit for the Archaeology Committee report?
I would simply add telegraph poles with wires and insulators are still standing that were present during the Mexican Revolution.
Believed to be present.
This is Commissioner Kanoff. I'm holding up a photograph of those on my phone. If you go to me, you can see them.
Yeah, can see them. Cool. Okay.
So I
Then,
have no change if we wanted to make a motion.
I think we're going to make a motion to have an edit, including the telegraph poles. Okay, so do I have a motion to accept the archaeology report with the addition of the telegraph poles that were viewed by the commissioners? Do I have a motion to accept with that edit? Anyone? Motion, please.
Motion to accept the edit. This is
Yes.
Commissioner Roman.
Yes. Okay, and do I have a second?
I second it.
Second.
Okay, I'm not sure.
Commissioner Calamia was probably the first one, I think.
Okay, if you want to call
All
it.
right. Yes, so let's go ahead.
I have a second one on the Archaeology Committee too. Report, second, another one.
Okay, but now that we've called for the vote, though, do we have to follow through, Ryan?
Commissioner Calamé, are you withdrawing your motion to make a further amendment?
On this item, it's fine. There's a second topic there I want to make a small amendment to.
To the same, correct? The archaeology.
Same report. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so for right now, for this action, are you withdrawing your motion to make a further edit, and then you'll remove to accept with the two additional edits?
This is Commissioner Roman, and I'll retract the motion.
Okay, so now the motion's retracted, and so now, Mark, you're saying that you would like a second edit, an edit in addition to the telegraph poles. If you would please lay that out again as succinctly as possible.
Yeah. Please add my name with Prince Mackenzie's for the Casa Ronquillo project. That's the only other addition.
Okay, Marcos, do you have that?
I do.
Okay, then can we make a motion to accept the archaeology report with the two edits provided by Commissioner Calamia? Do we have a motion to accept? Anyone?
Accept.
Okay. First by Commissioner Calamia, I
We
believe.
have
We have a second.
Do we have a second?
I second Mackenzie.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. Any abstentions?
Abstain.
All right, motion carries. We can move on to item D, accept the report and activities of the Historical Markers Committee.
Commissioner Calamia, I do believe you also wanted that one pulled.
Yes. The one for, this one may be able to stay. The person who is going to do the Bowie Bears baseball team state championship is not interested in doing it after all, Ray Sanchez. So at the time we did this, we thought he would be able, I was told he might be interested, but my source of information turned out to be erroneous. So I'm not sure if we're going to keep this or if we need to amend it.
Ryan, I'm going to ask you, since basically this report is a report as what, it's a compilation of everything that happened in that meeting. If something changes after that, does that mean that we need to edit the report, or are we just going to accept the report as it is, truthfully, what happened in that meeting?
So I guess if I'm understanding correctly, there's items or there's things listed in the report that occurred after the meeting?
Correct.
Actually, Ryan, I believe what's happening is there are items that were discussed in the meeting, and
Okay.
then after the meeting was over, they obtained new or updated information that no longer matches what was said in the meeting. So the question is, can they accept based off of, well, that's what was said and discussed in the meeting, or do they need to change it because now after the committee meeting was over, things have changed or been updated?
I mean, I think it's up to the commissioners whether you want to accept it or not. I mean, if it has things that are in error or not factual at this point, it'd be up to the commission whether you want to amend or postpone this item so you can amend, or to accept as is, but knowing what the history of the report would be.
No,
Okay.
yes.
So I'm gonna say in here
I
that
think there's a misunderstanding. So the way that the report was written at the time, it was factual.
Yes.
And then afterward, we found out that there was, misinformation given or something didn't pan out. So really, that would just be an update. We don't need to change the minutes.
Right. I agree, because it's a factual recording of what happened in the meeting. It is the actual minute notes from that meeting. So if those change before the next one, then that can be addressed in the next meeting. But I think right now, I'm going to throw out, if we could have a motion to accept the minutes.
I make a motion to accept, and before I do that, Mark Calamina, this is Janine, if at the next markers meeting, which will be next week, if it's not on the agenda, just bring it up as other business so we can make that correction about who's going to prepare that application in the markers meeting, and then it'll be on next month's report. But I'll make a motion to accept it as it is.
Okay.
And is there a second?
Second, Woody Bear.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. We can move on to item E, accept the report and activities of the Mission Trail Development Special Committee.
Yes, I just had again one addition. My name with Prince Mackenzie's there for the Casa Ronquillo project, since both he and I have been involved in that, and we'll be addressing this as an agenda item in this meeting for today.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, if
Well,
not,
I would like to say that, I mean, if that's how it was written in two reports, then that's probably how the information was at the time of those two meetings. So, I mean, like we said, things change and they get updated, and, stuff changes from month to month, which is why we continue to have these agenda items repeatedly from month to month. So, I don't know, it seems to me that if it was recorded this in the similar way for two reports this month, I feel like that's probably the actual record of what happened in the meeting.
Well, as I recall, both names were mentioned as proponents of this Casa Ronquillo project at the Mission Trail Development Special Committee meeting.
okay, I think it's a minor adjustment, and I say that at this point, so that we have a lot on our agenda, I am going to say that let's go and take a motion to accept item E, which is the Mission Trail Development Special Committee report, with the inclusion of Commissioner Calamia's name, working with Prince Mackenzie on Casa Ronquillo, Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Was that Commissioner Borrego?
I second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Calamia. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Item carries. Oh, and who was the second abstention?
Commissioner Roman?
Okay. All right. Item carries. We can move on to item 6 of the regular agenda, which is to discuss and take appropriate action on a recommendation to begin archaeological research and preliminary site excavation for the Casa Ronquillo restoration project. There were 2 items attached to this on the agenda. And let me see here. So we do have a cost calculation sheet as well as a letter from the El Paso Archaeological Society to the county.
I know that there was going to probably be a lot of discussion on this, or I'm thinking there would be. So if so, let's be, very careful to not all come in at once, to identify ourselves and go from there. So is there any discussion on the Casa Ronquillo project? Anyone?
Commissioner, this is Ryan Kerr, Assistant County Attorney. I just wanted to fill in some background information on this item. If you were to take action to approve a recommendation to begin archaeological research, and to approve or to recommend that the county engage with the El Paso Archaeological Association, I would then begin working on a contract with the El Paso Archaeological Association to memorialize the payments and the budget, and to also include a license agreement for entry upon the county property for the purpose outlined in their proposal. And because those items appear to be under $5,000, they would be able to go to the county chief administrator. So we wouldn't have to go through Commissioner's Court for the item as proposed.
Okay. And Commissioner McKenzie, this is actually, it's listed as something that you wanted to bring to the commission. So would you like to speak to us about it or give us any further information? And you're muted, Commissioner McKenzie. You're muted. Commissioner McKenzie, you're still muted.
Why don't
Okay,
we table
can you hear
this?
me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Okay. I don't really intend to read the entire proposal to you. I hope everyone has read it to some extent. But what I would like to do is discuss all the parts of it. And Commissioner Calamia and I can answer questions about it. And in the first paragraph, the introduction paragraph, it lists the site number of Casa Ronquillo. So that is the state registration number. All historic and prehistoric sites in the state of Texas are registered with a trinomial number, which is what you see there. And so that is the permanent identification number in that first paragraph. And in the second paragraph, it deals with the Texas Historical Commission archaeological survey standards, which is what we propose to operate under. So we will work under the rules of practice and procedures, and that's what this proposal outlines. And so this proposal is designed to begin and conduct a survey, and that survey will eventually lead to a request by the county for an archaeological permit for archaeological research and excavation to validate and determine what else is at the site. And so now the third paragraph deals with previous research that had been conducted at the site. And it mentions Peterson, Graves, and Hill that were a report of 2002. And in that report, it indicates a couple of things that are there. We have what we call concentrations and features. A concentration is a collection of objects that might outline an activity. And in this particular case, they determined that there was the indication that a blacksmith's forge was in the area. And then another thing that they determined was that there was a structure, and that is believed to be the bed of a wagon or of a carreta. And features are normally major features would be the walls, the foundations, and the tops of the walls of the other parts of the building, the other two wings of the building that we don't see that are below the surface of the ground. But what we will do is we will conduct a site survey, and we will examine 100% of all of the material that is on the surface. And then we will do some slight probing below the surface, and we will divide the entire 2-acre site into 1 meter squares. Then we will actually move across the site with a team of trained individuals, and we will be examining everything on the surface and collecting anything that is significant. And so significant things, we already have indications of prehistoric materials on the site. So those are Native American materials. And then we also have indications of historic objects that tell us that they are from the historic period, starting in 1830, which is what we believe from these reports. And Peter Condon, president of the Archaeological Society, did some records research, and we will be reading over those reports to get ideas of what to look for that had been found in these earlier reports. So we will conduct training for people and that are participating, and it will all be supervised by team chiefs and an archaeologist. And so we will lay out a 10-meter wide transect across the site. We will slowly, with a team, with a line of people, walk across the site, stop, pick up, mark significant objects. They will be photographed by the photography team, and then they will be placed in bags along with the location. We will use an instrument called a tremble, which will give us the precise GPS location of that object. And if there are, just to give you an idea of what kinds of objects might be out there, if they are just lumps of undefined metal, we probably will not pick them up. But if they have some definition, we will definitely pick them up if they're iron. And now there is a considerable probability that we'll run into lead at the site. So those were what we call mini balls or bullets that were fired in the area. And when we find them, we'll actually have an idea of whether or not they were fired or just dropped. And but there will be other objects. Projectile points for Native American occupation of the site, and ceramic objects. So that would be fragments of pottery. And then for historic, we would have, well, we would collect coal, glass, and we've already seen there's a lot of ceramic objects out there. They could be from roofing tile, they could be from sewer tile, or they could be from eating utensils. And so then we would also collect fragments of furniture, or fragments of charcoal might give us an indication that there was a hearth at that location. And that may be what the preliminary investigators used to determine a blacksmith's forge. And so, and then any kinds of perfectly circular discs, we will be collecting, because those usually turn out to be coins. And so we'll be collecting identifiable materials. Square nails were used in setting flooring and roofing. And so there are different kinds of glass that we know are at the site. And some of that glass comes from containers, some comes from probably windows. And so we will be collecting all of these objects, and this is called formally it's called a pedestrian survey, where you walk across the site in a systematic way. And right behind this line of collectors will be another organization under the supervision of the El Paso Archaeological Society, and this is AIRE, or AIR. That's an acronym for the Association of Independent Researchers and Explorers. This organization has been in operation for at least 40 years that I know of, and has an excellent track record of collecting, of discovering and finding objects. And what they do is they will follow behind the people that collect the surface material, and they will be using metal detectors. And so they can actually detect the blasting cap from a pistols that were used before 1872. They can detect a blasting cap which is only about 1/4 of an inch, as deep as 12 inches deep in the ground. And so what we will do is we will have trowels, and we will be checking the surface, checking below the surface with trowels, and recovering objects that appear to the metal detectors, and we will be recording them in the same way that I mentioned before. And so
I'm just going to jump in a second. I'd like to point out, I'm hoping everybody read the attachments, but all of the different, everything Commissioner McKenzie has spoken about so far is basically being donated. All of that work is being donated. So the one thing,
correct.
The one thing that we could possibly make a motion to address at this point on this particular agenda item would be there is a financial component, and it's not all of this donated labor, etc. There is a financial component of $3,000 or less, which would cover the cost of the receptacles or bags, all of these different things that are discovered would be placed into. So part of the approximately $3,000 would be for the actual containers to put the artifacts in.
Right.
And the balance and the most expensive portion of the $3,000 would be for the ongoing curation and storage of the artifacts. And so I would like to, at this point, perhaps make a motion that we indeed want to support this endeavor, which is, like I said, the majority of it is donated labor, etc. So that's an amazing amount of money we will not be spending. But I would like to throw out a motion that we support the spending of the $3,000 or less for the actual purchase of the receptacles in which to collect the artifacts and pay for the ongoing curation and storage of said artifacts. Is that correct, Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes, that is correct. And from that collection of objects and artifacts, then an archaeologist can then develop a research design for a full-blown excavation of whatever we are interested in, like the sections of the buildings and so forth. Now, part of this is very necessary because it's what we call a salvage operation, because we want to make sure that it is recovered, that historic objects are recovered from the areas where the two service buildings are going to be constructed, the restrooms and the utilities building, parking areas, the excavation of the ponding area. Those things will, if the parking area is paved and service buildings are added, we will never ever know what is underneath those if this survey is not done at this time. And when the contractor digs the foundations for the survey, for the construction of the service buildings, then we will actually go into the ditch for the foundation, and we will examine the profile of the ditch and see how that matches up with the previous archaeology that had been done at the site. And that will help the final archaeologist with the research design for future development of the site.
Awesome. Okay. I would like to just throw out if we could make a motion to support a $3,000 expenditure for the surface study of Paso Ronquillo, which is comprised of two parts. The purchase of bags or receptacles in which to collect the artifacts, and then the ongoing curation and storage of said artifacts. Do we have a motion to support the $3,000 expenditure?
Could I just speak, or when would be?
Go for it.
This is Shelby McHugh. You know what I'm interested in is developing cultural heritage tourism. And what's been described to me, and I'm a complete novice, is a major archaeological project. It goes way beyond the $3,000, which is certainly fine. I don't know what this project looked like when you talk about developing Casa Ronquillo for purposes of cultural heritage tourism, what that project looked like, what that entire project cost, and what the timing is. But and we certainly want to be prudent with respect to the archaeological footprint that is below that cotton field that's been a cotton field for 5 decades, plowed, irrigated, and I'm sure that there may be something that rises to the surface that you can walk across and pick up. And of course, there's no one would possibly object to that. What I want to know is what processes will work in parallel to this. What is the date that we think that this might, at least some piece of it, be actually ready for the development of cultural heritage tourism without being totally hijacked by the archaeologists? What is the timing on this, Prince?
Okay, I don't think we can say that it's being hijacked by the archaeologists, because this is a necessary step that, as Texas Historic Commissioners, we need to do a site survey and have the most complete understanding and the most complete collection of artifacts possible. So I think that is a necessary step. It's not something that's delaying anything. I don't know the timeline, though. I don't know if Commissioner McKenzie or Commissioner Kalamea even know that. At this point,
then I would certainly vote for the $3,000. And I certainly understand exactly what you're saying, Barbara. I mean, we can't just start tearing things up and then losing a valuable part of the history. But I guess what I'm wondering is, what can we work in parallel? What is the timing of this project? How long will the archaeological project start? What did the other processes look like? How do they fold into this? Will I live to see this project done? That's what I want to know.
Okay, and I'm going to call Andrea next, and then Brian, you'll be after that. Okay, Andrea.
But please don't think that I'm opposed to the. You have to be prudent and use your very best judgment before we wreck some archaeology. That's not what I'm saying. I just want to understand the timing of the big picture of when we'll see some cultural heritage tourism brought to the Lower Valley.
Okay,
yes.
Andrea?
Hi, thank you. Yes, so Andrea Hutchins here. Basically, right now we've got Public Works ready to move on construction for renovation of the standing building. It is going to be going out to bid this October. So that original initial standing building will move forward alongside or next to the archaeological activities that are going on. We have very explicit instructions from the Commissioner's Court that this main project, at least the renovation of that particular building, will move forward. So we are not anticipating any other side projects or complementary projects to be holding up that construction. As Valerie mentioned to you all last month, we did get some additional grant monies to move that project along. And so I do know it's my understanding that it should be less than a year's time frame to get that original building footprint up to speed. I'm not exactly sure about the timeline of the parking lots and whatnot, but I don't believe it's going to be long after, because it's all in one project, one layout and design. Now, that being said, I can tell you that there are some more longer term kind of pie in the sky activities that I've mentioned to you all in the past that folks from UTEP are currently working on, building out kind of like a if money were no object plan. So we're doing the nuts pieces that need to get done for basic salvage of the structure and being able to open that original building, that will be done by this time, I would say next year. I know Melina is on the line. Melina, correct me if I am completely off base there. But I would say that that main building will be in a year. Now, the long-term hacienda, having the entire thing completed, I would venture to say that that's probably going to be a 5 to 10 year project in order to have it completely built out. I mean, this is a county government, local government project, right? So we're going to be seeking out other opportunities for grants. You know, we do need to have input, continuous input from the Commissioners Court on, you know, like what type of items should go in the buildings when they're built. You know, I mean, there's a number of areas of opportunity for you all to participate in those things. But to answer your main question, I don't foresee the original structure that we are currently in the process of renovating taking longer than a year to include the parking lots and the whole 9 yards to have that open in about a year.
Okay. Commissioner
I'd like
Kane,
to say something. Mackenzie.
well, Commissioner Kanoff is up next, please. Commissioner
Okay.
McKenzie. Commissioner Kanoff.
Well, I'd just like to add that, you know, within just a couple of blocks, I mean, the cultural historical tourism, you know, this is right in the shadow of the chapel. I mean, it's already, the tourism is already in existence. This will just add to it. And I think those that are cultural heritage tourists might be quite interested to observe actual archaeologists, you know, going through this particular site and view the process rather than just show up to a museum or a building that's 150 years old and buy a trinket inside. I think that the actual process will add to the tourism, if you don't mind me saying so.
Oh, that's an excellent point. Commissioner McKenzie.
Okay. Just to elaborate on what Andrea said was what we will be doing. You heard me mention the term salvage. We will be learning about the overall site before it is covered up with the parking area, with the additions to the buildings. And I don't see any problems with the restoration of the existing building, like she said. And now we know that there are foundations of 2 other wings to this building, and that's what later archaeology would determine. Room by room, it could determine how those rooms were used, what they were used for, and that can all come later. Now, we have made the recommendation that a fence be erected around the footprint of those other 2 wings to the building so that heavy trucks don't drive over it during the construction phases and restoration phases and crush the foundations and destroy archaeological evidence. And that's the only thing that can be done later when grants are made, and when this building, the existing building, is restored, then I believe that grants will start flowing in because there will be a lot of interest in what else is there, and then there's the potential for an entire living history center with a lot of other activities that could be constructed on the site later, pending the receipt of grants. So I agree with what Andrea said, that this is not going to delay. What we're talking about is primarily a salvage operation, and it gives us more information, and it gives us keys to a lot of possibilities for the future development of the site. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And I know that Public Works will take special care. This is a key project, so I don't think we need to worry about that. If there's not any further discussion, I'd like to bring a motion to the commission to allot the $3,000. So is there any further discussion? Brian? Mr. Kanoff,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand. I meant to unmute so I could vote. Sorry.
Okay, so can we have a motion to approve a $3,000 at most expenditure for a surface study at Casa Ronquillo to include the purchase of the receptacles or bags for the artifacts and the ongoing curation and storage of said artifacts?
I so moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Mr. Kanoff.
I second. Mackenzie.
Kenzie,
Commissioner-
seconds, if you'd like to call
Okay.
it.
So since we're back in the regular agenda, we'll do a roll call vote for this one. Commissioner Bear,
Aye.
Commissioner Borrego,
Aye.
Commissioner Calamia,
Mark, you're muted.
Commissioner Calamia. Give him a moment. We'll come back to you in a bit. Commissioner Chaparro,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Aye.
Commissioner Howe, Commissioner Howe. Okay, Commissioner Kano,
Aye.
Commissioner Kinney,
Aye.
Commissioner McHugh,
Aye.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Aye.
Commissioner Quesada, Commissioner Roman,
Aye.
Commissioner Sutherland,
Aye.
Commissioner Welch,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Aye.
and Commissioner Calamia.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We can move on to item number 7. Receive information on the process of appointment and reappointment for the 2020-2021 term of the County Historical Commission. I just believe Angie wanted to say something briefly to this.
Yes, so we just wanted to remind you all, and I think Valerie has done this just about every single month, but to remind you all to please, if you are interested in reapplying for the next term, that you do get with your commissioner for your district and discuss that possibility with them and submit your formal application. Please do keep in mind, for those of you that are in Commissioner Perez's district, and I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head, he will be replaced in January, and so we are trying, to make sure that we have all the applications and things like that in place so that we can quickly have those positions appointed and not have any delay in that regard. So anyway, does anybody have any questions with that coming up so quickly?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that mean Vince will participate in the selection of the next group, or the new person will participate?
So I believe that it would be the new person. Ryan, you correct me if I'm wrong there, but it's my understanding that the actual vote would take place in January, so that it would be the new person.
I think it probably depends on when they're sworn in.
No, it depends on when they're selected.
Right, when they're voted, correct.
So they're going to we were interviewed in December last time and selected, but I don't think anything was announced until January.
Correct, yes. So the interview process for those particular seats would probably happen in January. I don't suspect that the other commissioners would change their schedules, but I have not heard yet. So I just feel like the more timely that all of the applications come in, the easier it will be for them to create a game plan to work around, having a new member of the court.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other discussion, any other questions? All right, if not, that was discussion only, no motion taken.
Okay, item number 8, provide feedback and comments on the Downtown Historic District first draft narrative. Further, discuss and take appropriate action on the development of educational materials and public workshops on historic districts and historic tax credits. Now, for this item, there were a couple of attachments, most notably the comment matrix, and also registration form.
So this was just really Valerie wanting to make sure that everyone had seen the comment matrix and understood the directions and the timeline. We do want to make sure that we avoid, any last minute additions. That does end up kind of not only hampering the timeline from the consultant, but quite frankly, sometimes it costs us more money when we have to go back and change things, and we're paying these folks by the hour. So definitely, if you could get your feedback in. If you need help with the comment matrix or you have questions about how that works, definitely give Valerie a shout when she gets back. But we definitely want to make sure that we receive everyone's feedback, on the boundaries as presented.
Is there anyone who would like to discuss any questions?
When are those comments due?
Marcus, it should be in that comment matrix at the top.
Yes. Okay. So according to the matrix, the one that was attached seems to be blank.
Okay. We will email that out to everybody. It was in the email that Valerie sent out, and I do not have the date memorized, so I don't want to tell you the incorrect date, and I apologize. I thought it was on the matrix. But we will definitely get that sent out to you all as a reminder via email. I can have her just resend the initial one with the instructions. I want to say that it is October 2nd, but that's what I'm saying. I'm nervous saying that date, but I want to say it's October 2nd, so it's around the corner.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
I do just want to briefly bring up, Barbara, sorry, that you'll notice also on the agenda item that we will be creating education materials and public workshops and things like that as the process begins to unfold, and we submit this designation or the narrative to the National Register for consideration. We will need to be doing some public workshops and outreach to educate local homeowners and residents on, and even commercial building owners, how to use historic tax credits and really what it means to have a historic designation. I know that a lot of times, we talk about being a historic property, but what does that mean, and how can you use that for your benefit? And so at some point, we'll be wanting to put together kind of a little working group, if you will, who we would like to get maybe some feedback and input from on some of those education materials. And so if that's something you're interested in participating in, I would say it would probably just be maybe 1 to 2 meetings, where you all give us direction and feedback. We create some items and then present those items to you all for additional feedback. And then we can obviously present that to the larger historic commission, but we'll definitely be wanting your feedback on those items.
Okay, and I'm sure there will be quite a few interested commissioners. So, Andrea, do you want people to just email you now? Do you want to hold off for a bit? How do you want to address that?
No, ma'am. The sooner the better in my mind. This is one of those things where I feel like this time of year, it's like, September, October are great, and then all of a sudden in November, everything falls apart, and I don't want to see that happen. So, so definitely, if you're interested, I would love to see everybody get a meeting put together in the October timeframe so that they could give staff initial direction on what should be included in those education materials. Okay, so if you're interested in being part of that working group, if you'd like to email myself and Valerie, Andrea, would you like yourself also? And always copy Marcos, so he holds it all together. Okay, so if there's no further discussion on that, but seriously, get your emails in as soon as you can so we can put the working group together. Again, this was information only, no action required. On to the next one.
Item number 9, discuss and take appropriate action to approve the narrative text for the Escárate School historical marker. This was to be presented by Commissioner Young, and we did attach the language to the agenda.
So this is ready for approval by the commission. This is, Marcos, are you able to put the draft up?
Yes, you want to, yes, let me go ahead and share that.
Yeah, we can. I believe it's the fourth draft. The Isleta Schools Committee incorporated our suggestions and answered some concerns and comments we had. So this has been now approved, and we believe it's ready for approval. Barbara, I don't know if you want to take it to ask for a motion, or unless there's any
Is there any
comments.
discussion or anything? If not, I would like to take it to a motion to approve so that they can go forward with getting the Spanish translation. So before I take it to a motion to approve, is there any comment? Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the narrative text for the Escalante School historical marker?
I'd like to approve it.
Okay.
Commissioner Calamia first.
Is there a second?
I second Mackenzie.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, we can go quickly on a roll call vote here. Commissioner Bear.
Aye.
Commissioner Borrego.
Aye.
Commissioner Calamia.
Aye.
Commissioner Chaparro.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
Commissioner Howe. Okay. We'll come back. Commissioner Kanoff.
Aye.
Commissioner Kinney.
Aye.
Commissioner McHugh.
Aye.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Aye.
Commissioner Quesada hasn't joined. Commissioner Roman.
Aye.
Commissioner Sutherland.
Aye.
Commissioner Welch.
Yes.
And Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Okay, and is Commissioner Howe, I believe, may or may not be able to speak. Okay, motion carries. We can go on to item number 10, which is to discuss and take appropriate action in the form of feedback and approval of the proposed letter to the Texas House Committee on Culture, Recreation, and Tourism. Did everyone have an opportunity to view that?
Is there an attachment with that, Marcos?
Yes, let me pull this up. Right here.
So I'm not sure if you all saw the email that came through from Valerie. There was a chart. So as most of you know, the Texas state government does not meet every single year. And so on off years like what we are on this year, they generally take bills like this up and just kind of discuss various programs. So at this point, it looks like we have been, or there's been a request for us to provide input on House Bill 1422, which is set to sunset. This was established as a statute by the Texas Heritage Trails Program, and it required the THC to adopt rules regarding the program that authorize the THC to enter into contracts with nonprofit organizations. And so basically this is, like I said, something that is going to be sunsetting. There was some confusion as to whether or not this would mean that individuals from the THC would be going directly to projects and then vice versa and thwarting the rule of the county commission. I believe that Daniel Collins may have joined us to answer some specific questions about the ins and outs of this. But our office has, I believe, decided to respond to this particular charge. Daniel, are you on the line?
I am. Can everyone hear me?
I don't know if I did that justice in explaining the exact details. So if I missed something or misrepresented something, please feel free to add to.
No, that was pretty good. The only clarification I would make is the Bill 1422 was a sunset bill that actually passed last session. So the entire historical commission was going to sunset. It did not. In the legislation that I was going to say restored. That's not correct. renewed, excuse me, the words escaping me, but the sunset bill, what they call the sunset bill for the Historical Commission, included this legislation formalizing the Historic Trails Program. And then just other clarifying, I think Andrew said this correctly, but the committees, every House committee and every Senate committee during the interim years when they're not in session issues what they call charges, which are just topics that each of the committees study during the interim. And like Andrea said, they invite the general public and sometimes invited witnesses to offer commentary. In consultation with Valerie, we proposed this draft, and now would turn it over to you if you have any edits, comments, suggestions.
When I read it, it basically lays out actions that we have done that are in compliance with this, I'd say. And so that's the way that I was reading it. Is that correct?
It was, except it wasn't just showing evidence of like compliance with the law, if that's what you meant. I think our intent was to show the value in these three programs that the county participates in by providing some concrete examples of how we've used them to our benefit in El Paso County. I think that was our intent.
Okay, and I saw that there were 3 examples laid out with evidence supporting that. And so I know that I, for one, was really happy to read that. I thought that was a great letter for everyone to put together and send. I am hoping that everyone else also read the letter. If so, is there any further comments or any questions? Okay, anyone? Well then, on that one, I do believe that is also, is there an action to be taken, Andrea, or is this just informational only? Or should I call a motion in support of the letter?
I think just a general consensus.
That's what I was thinking.
Of the action.
So, no, that's fantastic, and thank you. It was a great letter in support of the bill. So again, then there's no further discussion. That was for action only. I mean, for discussion only. Sorry. And we can go on to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. And just in closing, I'll remind the deadline was September 14th. No edits. I'll probably send this earlier than that. And again, we appreciate your support of the letter.
Awesome.
Thank you. And thank you, Daniel, for joining. I don't know that I appropriately introduced Daniel Collins. He's our Government Affairs Director. And so he joined the county about 4 months ago now, 5 months ago, something like that.
A little more than that. Beginning of April was when I started. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
Welcome.
So anyway, so thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So we can move on to item number 11. I'll make sure, okay, I'm not on mute. Discuss and take appropriate action on the USDA Housing and Urban Development request for review of the proposed agreement with the State Historic Preservation Office and Texas Historical Commission as related to Section 106 project review.
There should be an attachment.
There's 2 attachments, I think.
Pull these up right here. Okay, so there were a couple of attachments. So we had the programmatic agreement, and then we also have a letter here. Was there a certain one you wanted pulled up?
So this letter actually, I think is a good place to start.
Okay, sounds good.
So Barbara, do you feel comfortable giving an overview of this? I know that you all discussed it at admin committee, or do you want me to?
We didn't, not really. I mean, I'll be honest, I sent it over because I read through it and I was honestly very confused as to what they were trying, to have us agree to. I mean, obviously we already consult in the Section 106, anything that needs a Section 106 compliance, we already basically go over those surveys and give our input. But this was well beyond my purview.
Marcos, if you could scroll down just a little bit. So for those of you who are curious, so the federal government right now receives input from you all when appropriate for HUD projects. They also are currently consulting with the Texas State Historic Preservation Officer and also directly with recognized Indian tribes. And so it is my understanding that HUD is asking for comments to be included on the programmatic agreement that was attached, and whether or not we are, I guess, approving of that particular agreement. It looks like they're going to be doing a conference call, so it may just be at this point that we hold comment and listen in for the conference call for the feedback that they're actually receiving to make some sort of an actual recommendation. I know that there was only 30 days given to provide feedback, but I have to tell you, I'm kind of with Barbara. I'm not exactly sure what this means, other than they are asking for direction to go directly to tribal organizations and thwarting, if you will, the THC and or the Historic Commission, so you all as a body. Marcos, could you bring up Ryan, it looks like, has something.
Ryan, Ryan, if you'd like to jump in on this.
Sure. Yeah. So Brother asked me to give a little bit of an overview, and like you, I've never really dealt with this, so I had to do a little bit of a deep dive to try to figure this out. So I'm going to throw some statutes at you, just hopefully for identification. But HUD, anytime that they're going to do a project, they're subject to what they call a Part 50. So it's 24 CFR Part 50, and the title of that is Protection and Enhancement of Environmental Quality. There's a list of different laws under that part that HUD has to comply with. One of those is the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966, which contains the 106 review provisions. Okay, the 106 review provisions talk about what is a historic property, and like what needs to be done if there is going to be some kind of effect on that property. Let's see. We're in agreement pursuant to regulations issued by the council. So the council here is, let me pull up the website so I can see there. One second. Okay. The Advisory Council on Historic Preservation. So all of these agencies that have to comply with the 106 review provisions, in this case it's HUD. It could be a different agency, under a different program. Basically, the ACHP is kind of the last say in what type of program gets approved or denied, or whether 106 review is appropriate or not appropriate. There's a lot of leeway for the agency, in this case HUD, for the agency to determine that, but there are some commenting provisions and some filing provisions where they have to go double check with the ACHP to see if that's okay. In the grand scheme of things, there's something called sorry, let me put my notes here. So there's memorandums of agreement, but then there's also programmatic agreements. And so in this case, they're giving us the programmatic agreement for us to look at. Programmatic agreements are generally program specific, but they apply to large portions of land, generally multi-state or regional. And so in this case, the region is the whole state of Texas, because the other party that would sign this agreement, it's an agreement between HUD and the state of Texas through their state preservation officer. So Marcos, can you pull up the proposed agreement real fast and then scroll all the way to the bottom? So there's two appendices in this agreement. There's A and B. We're going to go to B first. B is a list of the programs that HUD is contemplating to move forward on that would be affected by this agreement. So, new construction, substantial rehabilitation of family housing, and so all these categories are things that they would move forward on. Appendix B, on the other hand, Appendix A, on the other hand, is a list of situations where they want the state of Texas to agree with them, with HUD, that there will be no effects on a historical building, and therefore 106 would not apply, and HUD would not need to confer with the state of Texas in moving forward on these items that are listed under Appendix A. What they will do is they will give the state of Texas, through the preservation officer, a list of all the undertakings that they have done that were accepted out of the 106 review per this agreement, so that the state of Texas can go back and review it to make sure, okay, well, we think this one does have an effect, so we do want it reviewed, so then they can protest it. So basically what this is, HUD is saying that these items would tend not to have an effect on the historical integrity of land and property. Therefore, we're going to move forward on these items, so long as the state of Texas agrees with this. And so the reason that you all are getting notice of this is because whenever an agreement like this is going to happen, there's consulting parties, representatives of local governments, parties interested in historical preservation and the like, are all invited to comment on this. So this is your chance to comment to HUD in the state of Texas, saying, I disagree with X, Y, and Z section of this agreement. I would like you to say this, or I'd like you to take all this out, or I'd like you to add this. And so that's basically the process that's being asked of you here. So I know that's a mouthful and it wasn't entirely clear.
I actually tried to muddle through it when they first sent it to me, and it was it's a lot. And most of it I could see, easily excluded. There's some things that might be more questionable, but I personally, I think this is really a question for legal for you, Ryan, as to how we wish to approach this.
Well, I wouldn't know, what particular exceptions contained in Exhibit A, are things that you all will hold valuable, that you don't want to allow to be an exception, or whether you're okay with it. Something like I think they talk about it's okay to repave parking lots and restripe parking lots if it doesn't affect, like the surrounding historic buildings, something like that. Whereas there's other things listed in there where if they're on the inside, they will not demolish walls, but they may replaster, in the same style. So there's things in there that I would really, really rely on you all for guidance on, as to on the programmatic level of what you'd like to see in there. As for legal, maybe we could make a request that you all also receive a copy of everything that was accepted and that HUD moved on without 106 process in the county of El Paso. Maybe you request that the preservation officer for the state of Texas sends that to you so that you're made aware as well, and that you can object if you need to. I don't know how far that would go, but.
Okay, I'm going to ask one thing, and then I know Commissioner Young would like to speak also. I noticed in there was something about they want to exclude boring, and this is kind of boring. No, they want to exclude boring unless it's on a previously designated archaeological site. But, there's a possibility that there'd be a site that hasn't been previously designated as archaeological, but it turns out that it is archaeological, so we may not want that excluded. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
There are provisions in here that if something is found to be significant after the fact, that essentially they will stop and they will forward that on to the state, into the public for comment.
Okay, all right. Okay, then Commissioner Young.
What I would suggest with this is to send it to the people that we normally send the Section 106s to for review, and that's Mark Howell. I used to send it to Ken Gorski.
I have a much longer list, so I can do that.
I don't know if you have others too. Yeah, I would let them comment on the proposed document. Yeah, because they're going to understand it better than any of us probably.
Okay. I will do that. Does anyone else? Oh, Andrea.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to briefly also include that it does appear that this exact statute used to exist in 2015 and prior to, and operated just fine. But I don't know if this is, again, has anything to do with the state of Texas only, conducting official business every other year, but it looks like it sunsetted in 2015. And so this would be bringing that back. So I'm not sure if it's something that they all missed, but I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay. Is there any other comments? Any other discussion? I don't see any hands up. So again, this is discussion only, no action taken. So we can go on to the next one.
Item number 12, receive a presentation and offer feedback on the County Heritage Tourism Strategic Plan action items and objectives for fiscal year 2020-2021.
So Marcos, I have the PowerPoint presentation up. Unless you have it, I can share my screen. It's however you want to do it.
Okay, if you already have it up, you can go ahead and I'll just.
Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is basically just a brief overview of what Valerie is going to be working on for the 2021 fiscal year. So end of October, or the beginning of October of 2020 through 2021. I first off want to just say some of these projects were in the works, but because of COVID have been slightly delayed. And then some of them, and I'll get into that just a little bit throughout the presentation, some of them are still going to be happening. We're just kind of delaying kickoff and doing some preliminary work ahead of time. So as you all know, Valerie's main objective with heritage tourism is to improve our historic assets and increase cultural heritage tourism, which I know that Mr. McHugh was briefly discussing. And so that is something in our office when we think about that objective, we really think about how we can put together the foundation to build to be able to accomplish those things. Those things don't just happen in a vacuum, right? Like even with Casa Ronquillo, we have to get the initial groundwork done of getting the building salvaged and some of these other things. So it really is kind of a multi-year process. And I'll get a little bit more into some of the more digital and immediate type of activities Valerie's working on in just a little bit. But recreational tourism is another thing that Valerie is really trying to increase the awareness of and the opportunities for in the county, both through sustainability and agriculture. When we look at the potential for agritourism is something that is happening even during COVID. There is absolutely no reason why people cannot continue to visit bee farms and do you-pick type things and all kinds of things outdoors, which I know the city of San Eli, with Commissioner Borrego and a few other folks are really taking advantage of those opportunities. Increasing ecotourism opportunities, same as well as with sports tourism. And we are working very, very closely with our Parks and Rec department to not only continue to build out recreational tourism, but to really shine a spotlight on some of the existing opportunities that people maybe forego on a regular basis. I think a lot of people still don't even know that the county owns a 27-hole golf course and a fishing lake. So, really trying to bring awareness and get people outdoors again. So we won't get into all of these things. I know that we're an hour and 36 minutes in, but just a couple of the key highlights that I wanted to touch base on. And you all, if you have specific questions about any of these things, definitely interrupt me or let me know. Most of these things along the Mission Trail, we are looking at, again, probably an 8 to 10 year plan. There are some things that we have asked for in the next bond that will go out for the county to provide some infrastructure dollars, and we are hopeful that we will be supported by the Commissioners Court in those activities. But again, looking, that bond is a huge multi-million-dollar streetscape project, but there is more immediate things for. We're looking at doing a tour that will be along the Mission Trail. We will need some assistance from you all to help build out the narrative, if you will, of that particular tour. So what we're looking at doing is a partnership with Destination El Paso that would begin a tour along the Mission Trail with a bus that the county owns and is wrapped and going to be, pretty and says, Mission Trail and whatnot. The tour would start at the transfer station, and it would go along the route with schedule and a tour guide. We're looking at using docents from El Paso Community College, but they will need a script. So those are going to be some opportunities for input in the coming months, so that you all can, make sure that we're on target with what we're saying for our tour. But that's something, it's a really exciting development that I'm excited to talk about. In addition to that, we are buying billboards. We are doing interactive virtual tours of Los Portales and some of our other assets that we have, maybe even possibly some virtual tours of some, like the actual Mission Trail itself. So really working along the Mission Trail, because we kind of see that as one of our major gems, but understanding that there's a lot more to look at. So historic preservation kind of continuing, we are finalizing the downtown Segundo Barrio Historic District National Register nominations. We expect for that to be complete, at which point we will immediately go into the countywide historic assets master plan. This is, in my mind, going to be extremely important for future goals for the county. And so that spring 2021 RFP release is really something that we're working hard to make sure that we stay on target for. And then going back to the ongoing educational workshops, really hoping that preservation next year in 2021 is a huge hit. I know that Shelley and some of the folks that volunteered for this year, I'm sure will be excited, hopefully, to join that effort again for 2021. Okay, so increasing cultural heritage tourism. Obviously we can't do all of these things in a vacuum. So Valerie has done a great job at forming, partnerships with UTEP, with Texas Tech, EPCC, the whole 9 yards. And so not only are we looking at doing things in partnership with our tour, we're looking at doing things more collaboratively so that we can stretch our dollars and so that we can stretch our manpowers. Or our manpower in general. So culinary arts is another example of something that we're looking at partnering with EPCC so that we can discuss, how people used to eat, back in the day when, El Paso was that wine mecca that we all talked about in the past. And then for marketing and promotion, I know that I did talk a little bit about the virtual tours. We are working on a contract for that right now. So the hope would be that we get all of our major assets, recorded. We're going to have some YouTube opportunities and digital and social media opportunities that will come from that as well. And then I already did mention the print and digital campaigns. On briefly just to the sustainability and agricultural piece, I know that if you're a foodie and you're really into this, this is probably something that's not incredibly foreign to you. But Valerie has been doing quite a bit of work on urban agriculture, especially because this has been shown to be an area of potential growth for entrepreneurship, for sustainability, and then also for the at-risk youth that are 24 and under. We are finding that a lot of the individuals who do the boutique farming and even that just do this on the side, that it is a good way to not only bring culture back to the community, but it also can potentially help folks, get into the restaurant industry and really form a different relationship with their area. So if you all remember, we had talked about doing a desert food festival in 2020, in 2021. I think we are still on target for something along those lines, but it will probably end up being scaled down a little bit. And then we already touched base a little bit on the ecotourism and sports. For those of you who are not aware, I think most of you all are, we have been working for the last 3 months on getting an RFP out for a county coliseum events and venue feasibility study. We have finally settled on a company to take to Commissioners Court. I believe that will be going to their going on their agenda in the next 2 weeks to be finalized so that we can pick a company and get that moving. But that particular study is supposed to be identifying for us how many seats our county can withhold as far as the demand, and then how many different venues we really do need. So do we have a sufficient amount of venues for events and for tourism, or do we need additional events, or do we need to maybe remodel some of our existing venues? So just as an example, should we build an amphitheater and remodel our Coliseum? Should we completely, redevelop the Coliseum and not do that? There's a number of possibilities, but we're really leaving it to the consultants to take a look at a national level to identify for us what the national trends are, even with COVID, because, obviously this will end one day. And then in addition to that, what the demand is here locally. So we are expecting that study to be completed at the latest sometime around the end of June timeframe. But so far everything appears to be on target. We have a company that we're looking at going with that has a lot of experience in this particular industry, so I'm very excited about that. So at this point, I will.
It looks like Commissioner Kanoff, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'm concerned, and I have some questions about the entity that you're bringing in to examine the potential of the Coliseum. How can I get information on this entity and make sure that the thumb is not on the scale, so to speak?
So we went through a rigorous RFP process that lasted about 6 months. So there was a committee of folks that was put together to review the bids, just like in every other RFP process. And so at this point, like I said, it will have to go before the Commissioners Court, but we followed the purchasing guidelines, as set forth by the county. So I believe that will be going before the Commissioners Court on the 14th, it's my understanding.
What is the it? What is the it?
Excuse me?
You said it. What is the it that will be going?
The selection of the company to conduct the study that we went out for RFP on.
So you cannot divulge the company at this time?
I could if I remembered the name. It is a national firm, and I know that it will be public information once they put it on the record. If you give me about 5 minutes, I can look that up.
Well, I have a concern for this because it's been no secret that the last 2 or 3 commissioners' courts had wanted to scrape the Coliseum off the face of the earth, and I just want to know if this particular entity is got the thumb on the scale, or I didn't know that there was a committee. Nobody asked me to join the committee, so I'm just really curious about the political ramifications of this.
So Commissioner Kanoff, I will tell you that Brian with the Sports Commission and the Coliseum has been made aware of this every step of the way. The idea to even go out for RFP and to solicit bids for companies was done at a public meeting. Valerie has made several presentations.
Well, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. No, I understand that, and I
do understand what you're saying, and I
understand, but no, that's not what I'm looking for.
Sir, I think that your concerns are not only late, but we have discussed this several times. So if you would like some additional information, I would be happy to provide that. But at this point, we've done everything publicly.
That's not the only thing I ask is the name of the outfit. That's all.
And Andrea will be finding that out for us within 5 minutes or whatever. And if she doesn't by the end of the meeting, I'm sure she's totally
I'm not
willing.
trying to.
Yeah,
Thank
she's totally willing to email it to all of us. It's not a big. Nobody's trying to hide anything. I'm sure.
No.
Okay.
I'm sure that no one is. It's just that I just wanted to know the name of the outfit. That's all.
And Andrew will get that to us. And hello, Commissioner Howe. So, are there any other questions?
Yes, I have a comment, Mackenzie.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question under the mission trail development, under marketing for the mission trail, I would really like to see the establishment of a visitor center at Fabens to attract and pull off tourists that are driving west on I-10, to give them the opportunity to stop at Fabens, learn about the mission trail, find out how many different things they can see, and give them the opportunity to turn right there and go to San Elizario and start doing the mission trail. And at the very least, give them the opportunity to plan their visit in the El Paso County area to include the mission trail, so they don't find out about the mission trail after they've gone to the art museum, after they've gone to UTEP, or after they've gone across the bridge to Juarez or whatever.
Okay, I think that may actually fit into our next discussion item, because as you remember, our strategic plan, one of the components is wayfinding, and what you are talking about is an essential element to basically tourist wayfinding, and so that's something that we really should be bringing up in our committees, or to put our committees like working together toward implementing the strategic plan. I think that is a really good idea that we can go forward with within the commission also. Okay, so Commissioner Howe, I see that your hand is up.
Yeah, I was just saying I've been on the whole time. I've just had my phone on, so I haven't been able to connect.
I know. We know that. It was good to see your face.
Okay, just want to make sure. That's all.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, so and honestly, Commissioner McKenzie, that's something that we should be doing ongoing to bring our committees in alignment with the ongoing strategic plan. It should be a suggestion. Okay, so we'll keep that one. Is there any other discussion? Thank you. Any other discussion from anyone? Okay, then I'm going to assume that, again, this was discussion only, no action required. So if we can go on to the next ones, and I know we're running out of time, so I'm just going to be really brief, but Marcos, if you want to bring up the next one.
Yes, item number 13, discuss and take appropriate action on the development of committee and commission level strategic goals and action timelines.
Okay, so we do have some attachments. One of them is a copy of the strategic plan that came out of our retreat, which we all should be very familiar with. The second one is what we're trying to do is we have each of our individual committees has goals and objectives. Okay. And I'd like us, as we've said before, to work on those and maybe like have revised, or else just say there is no revision of our current goals and objectives for each of our committees, okay? But the second component of this is that we have to start thinking about the overall picture. And I think each of our committees does an outstanding, like they're just outstanding on fulfilling individual goals and objectives. But we need to take that to the next level and start networking those into an overall commission strategic plan that aligns with the strategic plan that we set out, okay? So part of this came up, and this is what's coming up right now, is that I received something from the CHC that basically said that they want us to look at redirecting our efforts because of COVID, and they strongly suggested laying out very distinct planning documents, okay? So that we can start implementing plans for the future, and that is what our strategic plan is. So if you've glanced at this, basically what I would like to suggest in that each of our committees, we look at committee goals and objectives that we should already have put together, because we're talking about that for a long time, and take those, like delineate those, and then look at how they can be worked into an overall strategic plan. So how our commission goals and objectives can work into our committee goals and objectives can work into our commission strategic plan, okay? So that's something I'd like everyone to work on. And also, I think there is an attachment of, Outreach has an attachment of an SOP for Texas Treasures. And I would like to suggest that each of our different committees, if you have ongoing programs that are part of your committee, that you look at developing SOPs for any of these ongoing programs. So Outreach has them for History Day. This is the one for Texas Treasures. All of these planning documents, as the CHC has written in the document we have attached, are essential for our ongoing ability to complete our goals and objectives in alignment with the Texas Historical Commission's requirements, okay? Does that make sense to everyone? I mean, like I said, I think at the committee level, at the individual committee goals and objectives, everybody does a fantastic job of achieving those. But we do need to network all of those into an ongoing commission program. And that's what I'd like everyone to work on the individual committees, to work on bringing your committee goals and objectives to the commission level, to be fulfilling the strategic plan that we all agreed upon, okay? Does that make sense? Does everybody agree? Yes, I can see Brian nodding yes. And basically the attachments are just, to look at one committee that has been doing this and how they're trying to bring this to the commission level, okay? And I'd really like each individual committee by our next meeting to have something to present in the admin meeting concerning this so that we can bring it on to the next meeting, okay? All right, everybody. Is there anyone want to discuss? Any questions? And since you have the strategic plan attached, you can refer back to that, okay? All right, I'm not saying, oh, Andrea's hand's up. Andrea.
Hi, sorry, yes, I just wanted to circle back to Commissioner Canoff's question about the company that was selected. So at this point, I actually cannot share the name of the company, only because it has not been through the final review process of the purchasing board. So the RFP selection committee made a recommendation to the purchasing board, and that information is not public yet. And I am legally not allowed to divulge that information. It has to come from our Deborah Gray-Hotroll, who is the county purchasing agent. So I don't want to break any laws, but I can assure you that we can keep you all abreast as to how that works and who was selected. And I see that there's a question. So I don't.
Mr. Canoff,
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I didn't mean to try to corner you about this thing that's going to happen. I have been a proponent for 30 or 40 years about upgrading that entire footprint now that they have removed the former dog pound and there's even larger, footprint there. This is the geographic center of our county. It's where the county fair should be. It's where so much more gatherings. It's an amazing diamond in the rough, even though it's 75 years old. And I would just love to see us, an entity, walk those grounds and see the potential, like I do, and make recommendations to improve the infrastructure and to make it so much more of a gathering place than it is right now. And in fact, in the county, it's pretty much the only place that's actually open. They had a concert there Saturday night. They're having drive-in movies every weekend. I mean, they've taken the COVID thing and turned it around to carefully make it a gathering place. A couple of times a week, they have the food drive there as well. So I just think that it would be wonderful for us to exploit and fully take advantage of this particular piece of property that you don't have to drive to the edge of the county to get to.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I can do, if you're interested in looking at it, I'd be happy to share the RFP that went out. That is public record and public information, so I can share that. But I will tell you, Valerie and I wrote the RFP for that particular study in such a way so that there was not an ability, because I understand where you were going, Commissioner Kanoff, and I've heard those rumors as well. But the way that we wrote the study was legitimately that we wanted this company to come in to take a look at national trends, but also our local assets, and provide us with an unbiased, recommendation to the court. Because I think whatever ends up happening is something that's going to be, the next 50 years that we're dealing with for events, quite frankly. So anyway, but when I saw, because I actually did get to sit on the selection committee, and I can tell you that we received 11 submissions, and they were all extremely well thought out. I was very, very impressed, and I really and truly do think that you all are going to be happy with the results, because these companies really seem to take their time putting together the responses. So I can only imagine how the actual study is going to turn out.
All right, thank you.
Well, all right. Well, getting back to the strategic plan, do we have any questions on that, or are all of our committee chairs, do any of the individual committee chairs have questions about what I'm basically tasking everyone to do? Okay, I'm going to assume that's a no. Then again, this was discussion only, no action required. But there is action required. It's just not voting action required. Marcos.
Okay, item number 14, discuss and take appropriate action on committee level budget requests for fiscal year 2021 to 2022.
Okay, this one's also mine. I'm not sure whether our 2021 budget has been approved or not yet, but of course we have submitted it. So we're waiting on that. But again, I'm going to go back to the fact that the THC has suggested that we put together planning documents. And the budget is one of the most important planning documents that we can devise. And I know it seems very early, but if we want to be doing things such as Commissioner McKenzie saying that along with our strategic plan that talks about wayfinding, we need to be looking at building this this basically tourism center out there at Fabens. I mean, all of these require a budget, and so I'm not going to task you for the next meeting, but I would seriously like our committees to be looking at budget items for 21-22, especially if we are going to have large budget items that might need, something in excess of our kind of rollover budget, but that work in accordance with our strategic plan, okay? Because we know that things like wayfinding, that's very expensive. Any of the strategic plan goals require a lot more budget than we currently are asking for or utilize. And so I just want everybody to really be thinking about this. And also, if you actually have budget items that you want for that, feel free to send them on to Valerie, Marcos, Andrea, and myself so that we can actually start compiling this 21-22 budget with narrative, of course, ahead of time, so that if we do have items along the lines of a wayfinding center, etc., that we can start researching that and start putting together a narrative as to why we need essentially a much larger amount of budget, okay? So again, planning document, be thinking about it. If things pop into your head, put them together, send them to us. I mean, we can make notes on an ongoing budget, okay? So any questions, any comments on this particular agenda item? Anyone? Well, I just say think big. I mean, think big if you can justify it. Not just a number, but a narrative. And maybe you won't have a number, you'll just have narrative, but narrative is enough, to start thinking about budget, okay? All right. Again, no action taken. We can go on to the next one.
Okay, our final item. Oh, no, sorry. We still have a few more. Item number 15, discuss and take appropriate action on a recommendation for a historical commission sponsored speaker series with the purpose of attracting an out-of-state audience.
And Sutherland?
I'm sorry, I had a hard time unmuting. This idea for a speaker series came out of discussion about how can we promote our assets while we're undergoing the pandemic and limited contact and stuff. And so if Ralph and Al would please help present the idea. This is a real group effort because John wrote it up and the rest of us came up with ideas. And the idea is to use heritage tourism money to sponsor. I wanted to do 12, but they held me back to 4 a year. Events that would bring in out-of-town guests to hear programs, educational, sort of a level up kind of presentations by speakers that are renowned in their different fields. So Al, if you and Ralph can jump in with some thoughts, that would help.
May I ask one question really quickly?
No.
Sorry, before we get to that, I just wanted to ask, I know this is suggested for 2021. So as an action item, are you wanting us to request an additional $8,000 in budget for 2021? Is that the action item before we go into it further? As I know that is not part of the 2021 budget as presented. So are you requesting that the commissioners vote on sending a proposal to Commissioners Court for an additional $8,000 in budget for the 2021 budget to cover this series?
I don't think you can spend $21 in November of 20. So the first presentation that we want to do is in November. So we might need to ask for $2,000.
No, November is still part of the 2021 budget.
Right.
Okay.
But when would it be approved?
So the budget has already been approved.
Okay.
And it goes into effect on October 1st.
So see, it would be part of the 2021 budget, but it is not in the 2021 budget. So
however, I do just want to point out, for large events, I mean, your budget is more of an operating expense budget, right? Like there are some things that kind of fall into there, like the wayfinding and stuff like that. But if you all had a series that you wanted to do that, was around, bringing tourism and things like that to the county, Depending on the cost, we could take care of that in-house and just getting a signature from Betsy. Or if you're talking about spending, say, $10,000, we would look at probably putting something together to take to Commissioners Court and get their approval for the series. I can't guarantee that anything would be able to get through by November if we're doing kind of a larger plan. But if it's just a one-off individual speaker that you want to have come in for November, we just need to do kind of a little write-up on who it is and why we're selecting them. And we could more than likely, if we could make sure that it's tied to tourism and heritage tourism, we could pay for that out of the Hot Funds account.
Okay. The proposal, as I'm reading it, is $8,000 for the 4 presentations. So if I'm reading it correctly, you're requesting $8,000 for an annual speakers event that will encompass 4 different presentations. Am I correct on that?
Yes, that's correct. We want to call it the Birth of the Southwest Speaker Series.
Okay, and so then what I am asking is if you would like us to make a motion to request from Commissioners Court, since it's $8,000, the monies to underwrite this speaker series. Is that action item that you are looking for? Is that correct?
Yes, sorry, I muted myself again.
Okay, all right. Well, then at least we have an understanding of the action item. If you would like to discuss the actual program, I think you had a really wonderful layout as an attachment. If everyone had a chance to read, which really delineated the 4 programs. But if either any of the commissioners would like to give us any, their insights into it, please do so.
Well, as a showcase to the historical values or assets that we have in El Paso, the Outreach Committee came out with this idea to where we could bring in these speakers. As Shelly said, she wanted to do 12, 1 per month a year, but I think that's a little bit too aggressive. And so we decided on doing 1 per quarter. That gives us a little bit more time to adjust, as well as kind of understand how this COVID is really going to kick in and how we can make those adjustments throughout the year with the future in mind of bringing more speakers. And what we're trying to do is bring in outside speakers so that we can develop interest, not only within our own community, but as well as interest in communities outside of El Paso, promoting that economic development, the heritage, and the promoting of El Paso in general. So I know it's a little bit late when we came up with this idea. I'm not going to say we dropped the ball, but sometimes the ideas do come in throughout the year, and we did miss the budget opportunity. That's why, as Barbara mentioned, we would like to discuss the cost. We're looking at minimizing it, but I think Al shared a little bit on the speakers, where we could bring them in at no charge and just cover some of their expenses while they're here.
Okay.
Right. The idea probably would be to spend more of the money on promotion and advertising for the events to actually bring people in, participants, and then kind of go like that. I think I was one of the idea to bring 12 in. For me, that's not aggressive. To me, that you have to establish what you're going to do and then make it a regular thing so that people know that it's coming, and it starts becoming habit that where am I going to go this month, and I'm going to go listen to whoever. The idea, though, was for the commission to actually do something that belongs to the commission, not go piggyback on somebody else's event, but for us to actually create an event that we made and we actually are doing for the county. And that was the idea there, is for us to actually do something that was ours. And then, of course, hit it with the economic development part of it, and bringing in tourism and staying focused on that. And I mean, there's a lot of speakers, great speakers that will come in and speak for free. There are, you know, they love what they do and they want to help the cause. But yes, sometimes you have to pay their hotel or you have to pay their meals. So we have to really look at that. I don't know. We do that here, and I find money elsewhere to pay for that kind of stuff. But I think we can definitely get help from the Economic Development Department to promote it. I think it falls in line of what we're hearing about the media blitz and billboards and all that. You know, I think it'll help because we can be added into that picture probably. But I think it'll take more than 4 times a year to really be effective.
Okay. Commissioner Chapato, I know that you're up next.
All right. So I appreciate this project. I think it's really great, and I think it's wonderful that we're thinking of things to do through the commission. And I also appreciate that that you're starting off with a quarterly type of thing, because I think it would be great to work up to like a monthly type thing. But I think since you're thinking of getting it started rather quickly, and since funds might be kind of, I don't know, right now. So I like that. The only thing that I would suggest is, particularly maybe with the railroad one, is to make sure to incorporate, I guess, more multicultural, multi-ethnic perspectives on that, because I feel like the series is a little like, there's a lot of military in there. We made sure to include Black voices. We made sure to include military voices and Indian voices. It'd also be nice, especially with the railroads. I think we have other perspectives, Hispanic, Chinese, and women, that I think might be a draw for more people to attend.
Sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a really good point. Is there any other discussion before I try to turn this into an action item?
I do want to say, so I know that you want to do this as the Historic Commission, and I fully understand, you know, why you need to do that. However, how purchasing and contracting laws are such that it makes it very difficult to do a series of anything. So I'll just give you an example. We have a training that I'm trying to get for my employees right now. And, you know, you would think, oh, it's training for employees, it should be no big deal. But, you know, we have to justify why we're trying to use the vendor that we're using. And then it has to go through not only the purchasing department, but the auditor's department, and then legal for contracts and, you know, before. So anyway, so it can just be a process. And so one of the things I would encourage you all to maybe consider is, you know, I know that a lot of you all support various nonprofits throughout the county. If a small group of you, and it sounds like there's a small group who have already been working on this, maybe wanted to get together and look at forming like maybe a consortium of your nonprofits and coming together to make a recommendation to Commissioners Court and apply for a grant, that may be a better way to go. Maybe each one of your organizations could volunteer to host the speaker of the month or something to that effect. But if there's ways that we can maybe streamline this effort, I think that your desired result will be much more impactful.
And much more likely to be approved, correct?
Well, it's not so much approved. It's like, you know, it'll be approved this century.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just kidding, but it does take a little bit of time. You know, I mean, we have processes in place for a reason, you know, but sometimes they can make things a little bit cumbersome when it comes to event planning.
Yeah, it doesn't have to go out for bid or the purchasing department and all that hot stuff.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? And then if there isn't, should we try to turn that into an action item at this point?
Barbara.
Yes.
Barbara, can you hear?
Yes, I can.
Maybe do something like the Border Archives Bazaar, where you have a one-day event, you know, the speaker is kind of in the middle or at the end, and you can invite different organizations to come in and display items that are themed with your speaker. So it can be an all-day event or maybe something that will draw people more than just a person speaking.
Okay, I mean, obviously something like Railroad Days draws, it could be much bigger than just a speaker, but I'm going to throw that to Commissioner Sutherland. Commissioner Sutherland, since this is the project coming out of outreach, do you want to tailor an action item, if you want one, that would encompass requesting that it would be a pilot project, that would be an annual pilot project, what it would entail, and what kind of monies you would like us to request from Commissioners Court, and that they would be hot funds because of the way that you'd be setting up the series, and if you would like to incorporate Andrea's suggestion to also utilize area nonprofits that we work with to maybe co-present or support this action item. So, Commissioner Sutherland, would you like to word an action item for us? Or do you want me to just go with what I said? Commissioner Sutherland?
I'm here. I had to mute myself because my dog started barking at the beer.
And Commissioner Kanoff's cat just about hit the ceiling back there.
Yeah, you woke up Kativa.
Okay, Commissioner Sutherland.
My apologies, but unless I'd like to hear what Al and Ralph think we should do, because I'm kind of confused about the best way to go.
I think maybe we could hold back till our next meeting and put a different proposal in where we will come in with the complete package of having the commission support this project using 1 or 2 or 3 combined nonprofits in order to go after the money that way.
Okay, then is there support for tabling this item until next time and coming back in, to it at the committee level?
Yes, I'll move to table the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, then Marcos, you are muted.
Yes, sorry about that. So Commissioner Sutherland made the motion, and who seconded?
Commissioner Howe.
Thank you. Okay. It seemed like there was sort of general support for this, and we are a little over time, so maybe we'll just go with anybody who is opposed. Okay, anybody abstaining? Okay, so the motion will carry.
Okay, on to the next one.
Okay, item number 16, receive, discuss, and take appropriate action on announcements and updates received from county historical commissioners.
This one is mine, but it's just basically, do any of you commissioners, would you like to bring anything, tell us about anything notable that that you all or your committees or anything have done in the last month or that you have upcoming? Commissioner Borrego.
Well, I've done pretty much as little as possible.
Oh, stop.
But
I'm muting myself.
No, I just want to let you guys know about the conference this weekend down here in San Elizario. We're rolling with that over at Presidio Hall. I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of the schedule and everything that pertains to it. Of course, it is free, and I hope to see some of the commissioners there. We have 2 commissioners speaking out of the 19 speakers at the conference, the 2-day, Friday and Saturday. That'll be Commissioner Calamia will be there speaking, as well as Commissioner Quesada will be there speaking. We have, let's see, we've got 11 speakers from Mexico and 8 from the U.S.
Awesome.
And you're all invited to come out. We've got various activities. It'd be great to have the commissioners there. And don't forget your badge.
Okay, that's fantastic, and what a wonderful series. Commissioner Howe, I know that you have some things to present to us.
Yeah, as we discussed before in the archaeology meeting, we had a good meeting down there at the American Dam area for relocation of the monuments. And the additions we had, like Mark added, that's fine. We'd like to get back down there again, I think in the future, and take a look at that building that we noticed was the old Sarco pump house, because it's never been recorded. And I just, as part of my position with IBWC, I did get a site number and marked Smelter Town is now on the Texas Historical Commission site atlas as a archaeological site for that area. So that's something, and I'm hoping we can meet with markers sometime this month at Luby's for our next meeting. And please don't have it on a Tuesday because I have class and I can't do it. So let's plan on archaeology having a meeting sometime soon. Please send me an email for everybody on archaeology when we should go ahead and schedule that sometime in the next couple weeks.
Awesome. Who else? Anyone have anything that they'd like to report to the commission?
I do, Mackenzie.
Let's do Commissioner McKenzie first.
Okay. All of you heard about our proposal, which was approved to go ahead. And so if there's anyone who is interested in participating in this project, we will be having training on Saturdays and or any other time. If anyone wants to volunteer to learn these archaeological methods and participate in this survey program, please contact me. And then when it is appropriate with the county for us to start work, after we have enough people trained, then we will start work on that project once it is approved by the Commissioner's Court. Thank you.
Great. If you could just, once you have the times and everything, if you want to get them to us so we can get the information to the other commissioners, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then I know that there is another commissioner that would like to.
Kidney.
Oh, Commissioner Kidney.
Yes. Well, I just want to sadly announce we've had to cancel our annual Walkthrough History Day on October 17th and our Dia de los Muertos Festival on the 7th of November because of COVID. But our ghost tours are kicking up on the first and the third Saturday nights of the month. So since we have great distancing available at the outside cemetery.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right.
If you have a flyer or something that you would like to send to Marcos and Valerie to disseminate to the entire commission, that would be awesome.
I'll do it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Do any other commissioners have anything they would like to enlighten us about? Okay, I'm taking from the silence that that's it on this particular agenda item. No action is taken. Marcos?
Okay, moving on to item number 17, receive, discuss, and take appropriate action on updates and announcements received from County Economic Development staff. Wasn't sure if Andrea had anything else to add.
I was just going to say I've been talking a lot today, so not particularly, except for just to let everybody know, this is Valerie's first time actually missing Commissioner's Court in the 2.5 years, nearly 3 now that she's been with the county. So we wish her well, but definitely her presence here is missed. I don't know if you all felt it, but I certainly did. So thank you all for bearing with Marcos and I today without Valerie. So thank you.
I told her, run away, run away, run away. Don't look at your phone. I'm so glad she got a break. So, okay, so we're really happy for Valerie on that. And we do miss her, but that really, we have no action taken other than missing Valerie. So on to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so second was Commissioner Kanoff. Who was the first?
Aye.
Hamilton.
There we go.
Okay, you want to call it, Marcos?
Yes. I will just say all in favor.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very well, carries.
Awesome. So do your homework for the next committee meetings. And great to see everyone.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye all.
Thank you.